welcome back. In 2018, the Central Bank of Nigeria started the recapitalization of microfinance banks, which had minimum capital base for national microfinance banks as 2 billion, state microfinance bank had 100 million, while the unit microfinance bank had a minimum capital of 20 million. Well, the deadline was extended because of the pandemic last year, in 2020, and now it's about 3 months to when they're supposed to actually meet up with that. That's in April. Well, let's find out how the microfinance banks are gearing up for this deadline. We have the president of the National Association of Microfinance Banks, Mr. Yusuf Ahmed, joining us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Yusuf. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
So I believe your members, we could say, have had enough time to meet up with the recapitalization requirement. Of course, you had the pandemic disrupting, but do you see all your members scaling through?
Well, you say we have all the time, but we don't have the resources. And to answer you directly, I don't think 100% there will be 100% compliance. As at the last survey we conducted in the industry, barely 35% of our banks were, really ready to meet up with the requirement. That was sometimes in March last year. And a lot has gone under the bridge, and we are hoping that that 35% will have maybe improved to, say, 50 or so. And, with that kind of percentage, I think it will not be good for the system, for like half of, say, 900 microfinance banks to go down because they are not able to meet the new recapitalization, regime. But in your opening remarks, you made mention of 2 billion for the national microfinance banks, 100 million for the state, and then 20 million for the unit. That has been increased by 1,000%. That is what we are expected to achieve by end of April 2022. That means for the national microfinance banks, they are required to increase from that 2 billion to 5 billion. And then for the states, from 100 million to 1 billion. And then for the units, well, thank God we made some complaints, and CBN saw reason in it, and then they splitted the unit into two: urban unit and then rural unit. So for the urban unit, they said from 20 million, they have to show the capital to 200 million. And then for the rural unit, from that 20 million to 50 million. So these are the figures that we are expected to meet by end of April 2022. But like I've said, I don't think, and I believe from the survey we have made, the indicators are, is that our members will not be able to meet that deadline. And we have been talking with CBN, we have written, and we've been making advocacy to see that these figures are reduced. There is a good intention for increasing the, minimum share capital, because of course that will enable us, do more larger, scale business. However, at this time, the timing is definitely wrong, because the Nigerian government, system is just coming out of recessions after recessions. There is the COVID, pandemic. Now there is the Omicron. There are so many things against us, achieving these targets. And, the anti-money laundering and things like that, you will not get, external, capital to, inflow to come into the country. So there's general hardship in the, economy. So where are we expected to get this huge amount, the 1,000% increase? We are appealing. We have been going around, across the country, meeting our members to see how we can, within the different options that we have, to raise our capitals. We are doing it. It's a work in progress. But just to answer you directly, I don't think we'll have 100%, compliance by April 2022.
So what about options such as mergers, the banks did it during their period of recapitalization. Don't you have that option?
Like I've told you, we've gone around the states, through political zones, had meetings with stakeholders in the industry, in the subsector. And that merger and acquisition is one of the options, many options. You have mergers and acquisitions. We have, you can sell your license. You can buy. You can also acquire acquire another bank. So these are the different options, and then you can inject new capital. So we have 4 different options available to our members. But like I'm saying, the timing is wrong. And don't forget, microfinance banking is a community, based banking. And I don't see one community, with all their ideas and their, beliefs to now go to another community and then want to merge. There is going to be this difference in community, ideologies. So it's one of the options. Of course, if you are in the same town and there are so many microfinance banks and some will not be able to make it, yes, the bigger one can go down to the other ones, see how they can either acquire them or they can merge with, spelled out, imagine, arrangements. But it's a little bit difficult because it's a community-based, banking. So it will be a little bit difficult.
So if you had your way now, what are you asking for?
Yes, we have written and requested Central Bank, yes, as an association of about 900 members, we are saying increasing the minimum share capital is a welcome development, but not to that quantum of 1,000%. We are saying for the national, they should come down from 5 billion to 3 billion, at least within the time frame given. We believe most of the national microfinance banks will be able to make that 3 billion. And then for the states, which is from 100 million to 1 billion, we are saying bringing it down to 500 million. We are certain for any serious bank that wants to have that state license to operate within the local governments in the state should be able to increase from 100 million at least within the time frame to 500 million. And then for the units, now for the units of the urban from 20, you are asking somebody to add additional 180 million. That to us is unachievable. So we are requesting that 200 million should be brought down to 100 million. So from 20 to 100 million, that is additional 80 million. I think any serious bank that is in the rural setting, in the state capital, should be able to make that. And then for the unit, the rural unit who are in the hinterland, from at least from that 20 million to 35 million, we think is an achievable figure. Once CBN agrees with this, and then with the pressure and the enlightenment we are making to our stakeholders, we should be able to have at least 70 to 80% compliance by the end of April 2022. But if CBN doesn't shift ground, I am telling you, we will not be able to make up to 50% compliance.
So maybe you should tell us, what would Nigeria be missing or losing if, like you said, about only 35% of your members make it through? What gap would you be leaving as microfinance banks?
Definitely, there will be a huge, huge gap. Don't forget, the microfinance banks are the ones servicing the MSMEs. And from the last statistics I've seen, the SMEs are, they are about 96% of registered companies in the country. And they contribute to about 49, say 50% to the GDP. This is great. And look at the number, look at the number. So if microfinance banks are allowed to just fizzle out like that, it's not a natural death. If they are made to die like that, the rippling effects is going to be not only to the surviving microfinance banks, it will also rub up on the commercial banks. Don't forget, there is a compulsory relationship between microfinance banks and the conventional banks. Every microfinance bank is supposed to have a corresponding banking relationship with a commercial bank. And then if the microfinance just died, like this, the effect is going to be very huge. Let's say the 35% that I said from now to April 2022, maybe 35 to 40 to 50% will be able to make it. Those ones that are able to make it, by the time the other 50% go down, it will definitely have a very, very terrible effect on them. There will be a run on other existing surviving microfinance banks. And there will be general, there won't be confidence. The confidence will be lost. The rumors will go that all the banks are dying. Even those ones that are surviving, it's just a matter of time. They think that's what the public will think. They will also go down. So we are saying, it's not that we are not interested and that we don't believe in the capital increase, but please, they should come down to a reasonable limit and then allow the banks to grow organically, at least by improving your shareholders' funds every year, at least you are growing. That capital is coming in. You are now returning your earnings and things, and then your shareholders is boosting. That we believe is growth. But where it is by fiat, where do we get the money? We don't print money. It is our belief, if we can get this and achieve it, it's good for us and it's good for the public. But where we don't achieve it and then banks are just crashing like that, it will send a very, very wrong signal, and there will be serious problem in the financial system.
Okay, now on the other hand, assuming that the central bank hears you now and they decide to, lower the demands and all that, so you have more liquidity in the microfinance space. I mean, one of your major functions is supposed to be financial inclusion. So what else would you be bringing to the table? What new thing would this increased liquidity bring to the Nigerian economy?
Yeah, thank you. You see, like you said, the microfinance banks, like we know, are serving the down, bottom of the, pyramid people. There, when you go there, you have a lot of unbanked, underbanked, populace there. Our duty, because we are closest to the grassroots, we are the ones to bring them on into the net, okay? So financial inclusion is one of the major things that can be achieved through microfinance banks. If you get microfinance banks out of business, that financial inclusion drive of the government will be, defeated. That's one. That is one. So I believe central bank, as always, I know they have a listening ears. They should listen to us. That is the essence of having the association as the umbrella body of the almost 900 members. Let's sit down. We want to improve the minimum share capital of your banks. What do you see? How do you think you people can do that and achieve that? We are partners in progress. We will sit, we will discuss, we will now get a buy-in from our members, because at the end of the day, we want the system to be improved. But where decisions are taken solely without consulting us, and then it's just slammed on our faces, definitely you will see that only the few that have the muscles that will be able to make it, and most of us will just go down and die naturally with people's deposits and things like that. It will be a burden. It will be a burden on NDIC, because they have to pay off the depositors for the banks that are already insured. So let's look at the holistic, the larger picture, because what we feel is the number is so enormous for CBN to control, for CBN to supervise, so they want to reduce us to a size that they can manage, and I think that is not right. We should be, encouraging other investors to come into the system so that we fill that gap of financial, inclusion, so that at least let's do and then achieve whatever target the government is setting for itself. But if we don't do that, I think, we will just be joking, and at the end of the day, there will be chaos in the financial system, which we don't want to happen at all. Like I've said, we are partners in progress. We are ready to work with the regulators to ensure that we sanitize the system, we make funds available to our customers so that they can do businesses. These SMEs, they are the engine of any economic, development in any country. So if we are down and these guys cannot get these funds from us, I don't think there will be, a positive development in the system.
All right, but I believe, Mr. Ahmed, also that what the central bank is trying to do is also to weed those who would also be problematic in the system. So eventually, everyone may not survive it, but maybe the strong banks will. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. And we wish you the best in your conversation with the central bank and in meeting up with the deadline in a couple of months. Mr. Yusuf Ahmed is the president of National Association of Microfinance Banks.
Thank you very much. Wishes and then prayers for us.
Okay.